not natural now.
Still natural.
It's still not natural. There's nothing natural about this. Except maybe Susie. I think she's part something, not human.
So we find ourselves in Youngstown, Ohio today. And back behind me you can see there's lots of trailers. This is close to where the next Trump rally is going to be. We met a bunch of people who travel with these events and sell merchandise and stuff like that. So we've had some fun conversations. We had one interesting but crazy conversation with someone who was explaining to us something about codes and numbers. I can't really repeat it back to you, but
Thank God.
it was interesting and then it was crazy. Seemed to think that Jesus got married and had children and Trump is his descendant.
So this guy was putting numbers after all kinds of phrases and making code, and maybe this will show up on the vlog, maybe it won't, but now we might add numbers after every single thing we say, because he would be explaining it and give a phrase and then give the numbers
It's
that
like the
coincided
numbers
with the
go
phrase.
with phrases, and then like the same number that goes with this phrase also goes with this phrase.
There was a language that was
Yeah.
represented in number,
Right.
which I think is a real thing.
It is, yeah.
But,
Because there's definitely some like.
But he used it for everything. After
so
everything.
we learned that JFK is not dead. We learned, or JFK Jr.
Oh,
is not
Prince,
dead.
Michael
Prince isn't
Jackson,
dead. Michael Jackson isn't dead.
Elvis.
Elvis, John
Yeah.
Lennon. I don't know why it's all musicians. Mick
We're
Jagger.
only
All
slightly
musicians from his era.
But then he said that Jesus actually got married and had kids, and I think he was suggesting that Donald Trump is a descendant of Jesus Christ, which is really weird. And also, I guess that would be heresy.
Yep.
So.
That would be heresy.
Yeah. So I never heard that one. Just updating a little bit about the money situation. Did remember that I had put away some money for Christmas. So we do have enough to keep going. You know, some people wonder about how we do that or how we do this. You know, traveling around the country by faith. You know, by the time you're watching this trip will be over. So God will provide in the way He's going to provide. We're thankful for those of you who support us financially, and God uses you. But we want people to know that the Lord answers prayer. So this isn't a plea for money right now. I'm just letting you know kind of how this works. That we travel by faith. You know, we find an opportunity, and when we believe the Lord is leading us to take it, we take it as we did. That's how this trip got started. As a matter of fact, we are about to head to eastern Pennsylvania to a teen challenge where that's what started this whole trip, the teen challenge. I asked them if they'd like us to come sometime, and they said yes. So this is when that happened, and so here we are. And so as we travel, you know, the Lord provides. And many times I've said, all right, Lord, now would be a good time to provide. And I'll say things like, I don't have anything. And then the Lord speaks back to me and says, really? You know, there are times where I say I don't have anything because I've put certain things off limits, like, you know, a Christmas fund or a fund, you know, an emergency fund of some sort. And, you know, if we're walking by faith, we have to really walk in faith, you know, that we're not depending upon our safety net. We are depending upon Jesus as our only safety net. So we have enough to keep going, and there's not too much left on this trip. By my own calculations, I think we have enough to get home. I don't want to spend all the money in our resources, you know, to deplete these kind of backup accounts. But we will do what we need to do. And I think, really don't know how, but I believe that the Lord is going to replace, I don't think we're going to, I think He's going to replace what we've already spent. We'll see. But either way, it's going to be worth it, and He is faithful. So, onward and upward.
So we're in
Go
Ohio.
past this light. Then at the next one, turn left.
So we're in Ohio, where today we're gonna drive 4 hours to be in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And
At the
right
light,
now we're
turn
going
left
to
onto
Aldi
Oldie
to get some
Then
snacks.
turn right into the parking lot.
Mom and Aunt Greta are talking to a lady at the hotel, and we're getting snacks.
I need my food snack.
And Teresa needs her fruit snacks.
Wait, no, my food snack.
Food snacks.
All right, so this morning there's this car back here that has some Freemason logos on it, and I found out who it belonged to, and I felt like maybe I should say something. And of course, you know, when I think about that, it's like, well, why wouldn't you say something? Why wouldn't you speak into somebody's life? Well, the main reason I didn't up until just a minute ago is because I was, you know, the fear of rejection or retaliation.
Yeah, you need your hat on, honey. You have really bad hat. Sorry. There you go. Looking good.
So anyway, the Lord is gracious, and so we went to go to Aldi, got some snacks. We're back. Greta sounds like she's having a great conversation. Just gonna fill you in a minute. And just as we're pulling up, the guy that I thought I should talk to came out. I got to talk with him. Apparently, he bought this car from somebody else, and the logos were from a previous owner. But he knew about Freemasonry because of his grandfather, and he also knew that he said he believed me that it was evil. You know, and so anyway, I got to pray for him. I blessed his car. I blessed him, and he was deeply moved. So, you know, this was not our plan. We've had a lot of this on this trip, just like,
Yeah, a lot of little pockets.
yeah, just like conversations with people.
Well, I was telling Greta, like, it felt a little discombobulated and a little discouraging at times on this trip, because some trips you're just like gold nuggets all the way on the ground, gold nuggets. And this trip has felt more like we're panning for gold and we're finding like little gold flakes, and you're like, what is this gonna amount to?
That's a good way of putting it. Although I think emotionally I've felt similarly, but I know I've just observing. We've been very busy, and I think I've seen you more aggressive, confident, like proactive is the word, in ministry than I think on any of our trips. I know every day we've had stuff, good stuff to do, but for some reason, yeah, there's emotions that maybe it's our spirits are experiencing something a little bit different than our flesh is. I'll just edit that out. It's just weird. So embarrassed.
I don't know. I have to think about that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like wrong.
I think
just
some
have to
people
think about
watching
it.
this will be like, wow. Now they're like, they'll be like, yeah. And then other people will be like, I can't watch these people anymore. They're weirdos.
That's true.
So
But you
hopefully now that
can
I've said
always
that,
watch
now they'll
us.
keep watching.
You can always dislike our videos. You can comment
can't do
below
that.
about what
You
you
have to
don't
let
like
them.
and what you disagree about. I mean, that's
You
what
can't
social media is for, right?
Hey, I was just prayer walking around the property.
Wait, what are we doing?
I was just prayer walking around the property, and I almost stepped on a snake.
Whoa.
Hey.
What does that mean?
I have
Oh.
almost stepped on a snake before. We're buddies. Hooray!
You should
It
have
was-
brushed its head.
It was biblical.
That was just a garter snake.
Mom, you
The
should
garter
have brushed
snake's
its
not
head.
exactly a scorpion, but you know. Well, I hope Greta comes out before before these snacks become old news, because we have 4 hours to go today. Greta, can we come on? Yeah.
What?
Way to go.
That was so good.
So fruitful, Greta.
Really
So good.
good. So good.
Oh, giggity good.
You are a bad girl because you took way too long.
Oh, it was bad for Joe.
Bad for Joe, but good for God. No, but good for everybody,
So,
including Joe. Don't climb over the seat.
did you explain anything already?
No.
Okay. Good start. So, basically, we were getting out of the hotel, and there was this girl sitting in the corner, like a young girl,
My mom's getting it.
and she just looked kind of unsure. And I was thinking, man, I wonder if I should see if she's okay. And then I didn't. And then, as things go, and we all left, or we were getting in the car, and Carl was like, I feel like we should have asked if she was okay. And I was like, fine. So I went inside, And I was like walking in and I was like, Lord, I don't know what I'm going to say after, are you okay? And he was like, that's okay, just start there and I'll give you the words you need. And I was like, okay, cool, which was very comforting when he gives me a clear word like that. I feel a lot more prepared, but not fully prepared, it's still sketchy, but it was helpful. So I went in there and I was like, hey, can I sit down? I didn't want to make a beeline for her, so I went and grabbed coffee and then went over and I was like, can I sit down? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, this is gonna be weird, but are you okay? We were leaving and I felt like I needed to come back and see if you're okay. And she was like, that's really weird that you're asking about that right now at this time of my life. So long story short, I was in there for like, what, an hour? Something like that.
An hour and a half.
An hour and a half?
An hour and 15
I mean,
minutes.
she wasn't talking the whole time.
Okay, so I was talking to her and she was filling out an application for a job at the hotel, and turns out her mom lived in the motel nearby, and like the whole thing was a mess. She's trying to get custody of her younger siblings. Her mom's a meth addict, and her name was almost the same as a friend of ours who's in a similar situation, and I was able to share their story, and she was just in awe about how much everything was connecting. And she's like, it's just so weird, like she kept saying, it's just so weird that you're asking me this right now. I'm really not okay. And she was 19 and basically had to live as if she was 30, and she's trying to get custody of 3 younger siblings. And so the whole situation was just like definitely a divine appointment. While we were talking, she had the lady that came over to see if she was ready to have her interview was like, oh, I thought you guys were friends, and we're like, no, we just met. And so she went off to have her interview. I prayed for her, I gave her my number, and then I was like, man, I really feel like when we were talking, I told her like Jesus is calling you, like Jesus has it in for you, like in the best way. He's coming for you, and she was starting to cry, and I got to pray for her, and then she went to have her interview, and I walked out just as Carl was zooming away in the van, and I was like, well, I guess I'm stranded. And
I didn't know that was good.
Wow.
literally I was watching them zoom away, and I started to walk toward that direction like, well, now what? And then Susie came out of the bushes and she was like, hey, Greta. And I was like,
I'm just hiding in the bushes.
and I was like, okay, well, here we go. And so Susie and I did some laps around the hotel while this girl had her interview, and just kind of debriefed. And then when we went back in, I was thinking, man, I should have had Susie come in with me, but I don't want to ambush this woman. And so I didn't. I just went back in, and I happened to walk in right as she came out from her interview, and I grabbed my coffee again, naturally. A strange coincidence.
Yeah, it was completely, wow, what a natural
Completely
phenomenon.
coincidental.
Be quiet just a
And yeah, the peanut gallery's awful talkative. So we talked some more. We stood there at the coffee station, and then her friend comes out who works at the hotel, and turns out her friend is a Christian. I didn't realize that. I thought it was about to be like double whammy trying to witness to 2 people at once. I wasn't sure how she was going to feel about it, and I just started. I mean, I don't know how to make this short. Basically, I was like, I talked to the first girl, and I was like, if you don't know Jesus, you need Jesus. This is not like an accessory that you need in your life. You need Jesus, and especially with all the stuff you're telling me, like, you're going to need the Holy Spirit in you. And she was just taking it all in. And then her friend was like, I've been praying for this moment. I've been trying to get her to church. I got her to church camp, and like, turns out that was just something that she was like, I've been waiting for this for a long, long time. And I asked the first girl if like Jesus was something that she wants. She's like, I mean, yeah, like that does sound really nice. I don't know yet. She had some hesitations, and she would go back and forth like, I need this, I want this, I don't know. I think I need to think about this and pray about it some more. And she kept coming back to, I said a prayer at church camp, but I didn't get baptized because I asked her about baptism. And I was like, this other girl could baptize you. And her friend was like, that's a bad idea, I'll goof off. And so we had a really good conversation about how there's nothing in the Bible that says you can't baptize somebody. In fact, Jesus told you that you need to be baptizing people in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And there's a pool back here, so we should do this. And and we started talking about Homestead and the house church and how many people we've had baptized at in a bathtub and stuff like that. And they were just like, it was just a really good conversation altogether. And her friend looked at her and she's like, we could do that. And so she's like, all right, I'll think about it. So they have my number, and I'm hoping to get some pictures of a baptism in the near future.
Yeah, send the pictures.
I really wanted to just do it in the pool right then. They thought about it, but she was like not sure, and I didn't want to push her faster than she was willing to go. But it was just a really good conversation. And then Susie walks in after, what, an hour or so, and we were like, that was a relief because I was like, oh, that's where Susie fits in this. And because that whole time I was like, man, I really wish Susie was in here. And the girls were talking about how they wanted mentors, and I was like, I can do that over the phone, because we were going through the list of people that could mentor them, and there were very few, if any, that this girl could think of that could mentor her. And so I was like, I mean, in the meantime, like, we could do it via phone. And then Susie came in and was like, I just felt like I was supposed to pray a blessing over you girls. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, she does.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Yeah, I just knew that it was kind of time to wrap things up. And just as an older woman, Greta told me that the first girl she was originally talking to was 19. And then turns out the other girl is also 19. And just as an older woman in my 30s, I'm going to be 37 this year, I just thought, oh, I should pray like a blessing over them, kind of like a fatherly, motherly, parental blessing. So I just kind of had a sense that I should go in and wrap things up and help Greta wrap things up and do that.
Which was perfect timing, and it was exactly what they needed. So yeah, it was definitely, it's funny because right before that happened, I was in the trailer packing up with Carl, and I was like, this is weird. I feel like you and Susie are doing things on the trip, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing besides watching the kids. And like, that's fine and all, because I'm making a way for you guys to be able to do that, but I just don't know what my purpose is here. And then I turned around and walked in there and started talking to this girl for the next hour and a half.
I just applaud you for being obedient, because I was thinking I needed to talk to this other guy, but I didn't do it. And then I know you didn't want to do it either. And I was like, go do it. Or I was.
Oh yeah, he was like, you want to go in and talk to them?
So you're like,
And I was like, well, I guess that's the final blow. I'll go. I mean, I do want to talk to them. Majority of the time, I do want to talk to them. I just don't want to initiate it. You know what I'm saying? So,
I know what you're saying.
yeah.
I know what you're saying. You're saying you don't want to initiate it.
That is what I'm saying. But it was good. It was a really good conversation, and I need to go text her my information.
Awesome. Praise God.
Yeah, really good stuff.